Welcome to the program. I'm your happy healer, Chief Landi. As you can see, I have my blue gloves today. That's because I want to talk about being sick. First and foremost, right off the bat. And I'm going to go ahead and take these off because there's just to show you an illustration exactly what you should be thinking in these times for staying safe. Those are so handy, keeping germs off of your hands. So buying just a pair of disposable latex gloves might be the answer in situations where you otherwise can't get one of those masks that we're all looking for. And you can't buy easier to have found items such as hand sanitizer. So these are ways that people are using. These are means by which people are using to stay safe, to keep distance between people, and to be prepared for these coming times. Welcome to the program. I'm your happy healer, Chief Landi. Let's get right into it. Of course, God bless you all. Welcome to the program. Today is Friday the 13th, by the way. Good morning. Can you imagine? We're actually here on Friday the 13th. Thank you, God Almighty. We are aboard Happy Force One. I am always so excited about being on board Happy Force One, so it's a great life for me. Because I know that being out and about with the people is exactly what I'm designed to have been doing. Because of the information that I have. Because of the experiences that I've been through. And I want to share during this campaign and the media event that is in our campaign to back the movement and the words that are coming out of this campaign. We're not leaving it to the media to express the positions of your happy healer for president. No sirree. We're going to go ahead and make that clear ourselves.
I am certain of doing
Oh yes.
So folks, that's exactly what we need to do.
And together we can make the difference in all of our lives. We just have to believe that we are the answer to one another, that we can actually be there and not be afraid to take on the responsibility that is really all of our responsibility. When you think about it. So do your part. And it's so important for everybody to do their part.
You know, I am certain of times now more than perhaps ever before. I know why I stepped on this journey. The same people who are now in harm's way due to the lack of ability is born in me the need to do something about it back then, when I first drank. This has always been the case of the last decade. Really. Nature is at a balance with nurture and humanity. We are no less relevant to the whims of nature than we are to anything else we may perceive ourselves to be. And they are so many things. There's so many things to be concerned about in the year 2020 if you think about it. Too many. If you are what I like to refer to as reasonable about it all, with problems so large and looming, we have to be logical in our approach. Our prescription must also be equal to the task. The truths are written in the fabric of nature itself, and it's written all around us. The truth of our times is spelled out lack of ability to overcome in ways that are truly meaningful in our time. Think about that. We can't even get America right. And that is what I believe we must be focused on so much. We have to get things right in America. This is about being responsible adults in difficult times. We have not to sell out our problems out of fear and our freedoms out of fear. We can't do that. We can't sell out our future, nor should we sell out our present over fear. It'll take a quick and sudden realization of knowledge coupled with the courage to get things right on behalf of the people and to get to that work now. And that people matter and that they have purpose and value in this lifetime. People matter. And that's our stance. All the way. That's our ideal. If any ideal matters. That people matter. And it's an all fitting of an ideology if there's any ideology for humanity to have of themselves. People are losing their value everywhere you look. And I am once again reminded people matter. Those are
Those are
our
our
greatest struggles. To have to realize
and
welcome to this corner where we do realize that people matter. And our schedule and our plans to get out there across America and talk about issues that are important and close to your hearts are just things you can look forward to come. But allow me to share my thoughts in my own way and in my own head. The truth of our times. They're so grand. And I am so shocked when I see people and that I love these people and they're not doing right for our futures. We all have to own up to that fact, folks. I come with an open and honest heart so dedicated to us, to our progression, to human progression, and we need it now more than ever. And even for life to persist, we have to transition to something greater. I think about where I'm at now. Orlando, Florida. I think about the people and their problems, and their comings and goings, and they're not much different than Americans, and we're all ready for change. It's time.
I will always be more grateful than I could never express. But I don't expect, or rather I couldn't accept your involvement in this final act. I entered into this relationship with my eyes wide open. So did HappyHealer and the others. I admire that about you, Harold. I know so many zealots, men and women who choose a side, an ideology by which to interpret the world.
There's so much that we have to do. When I ran, and the very notion of running from the very beginning for me has been about people. It's been about conditions for ordinary lives, in my view, people who matter, and they're not being treated right. Starting with myself and moving outward in an ever-expansive rate. Everywhere you look, people are suffering. They're doing without. They're in wretched misery. Even when they have their bare sustenance, which is supposed to be a life worth living, that's living? That's slavery. And in America, they know that they should have better in the year 2020. Instead, we have bad leadership, bad prospects in the coronavirus. Here's my thinking, folks. If you're going to have an ideology, you better make sure you get it right.
But to get up every single day and do the hard work deciding what to believe, what's right today, when to stand up or stand down. That's courage.
And what is courage really? What is it? Because are people expressing it? Are they doing it? Are they living up to what they thought courage was when they were growing up? Now is the time for courage, folks. It's going to take steadfast leadership, and it's going to take an ideal that puts us together. That unity is the way out of our problems. A recognition that any other way is death, but it's death unto us all. So it's not just the individual groups who that experience the death, all of us experience it. So it's important so then that all of us are working for a solution out of it, and that takes courage. You know, it really does take a lot of courage just to be an American, to stake a claim in the future with courage, realizing that the better tomorrow starts today, and that every day between the future and the present stands hard work to be done. Folks that pretend and or act like they know no better talk about human beings having to work for their value, having to work for their sustenance, having to work for having a roof over their head as opposed to being out in the streets and dying. If the year was 1980, perhaps that's an argument you can make. If the year is 1950, perhaps that's an argument you can make. If the year is any other year than the year 2020, when our biggest objective is to reach a Type 1 civilization, to become unified, and to be able to deal with global crises. We're an interconnected society. We're an interdependent people. We have serious conditions showing just in the coronavirus right now. We have to show ourselves capable, and that's only with the courageous people who act in unity. And that is what leadership looks like in the year 2020. It's not what we're seeing. The American people know that. Why? Why are they playing so fast and furious with our lives? Why are they allowed to do that? That shouldn't even be allowed, but yet they do it. And it's unacceptable just how they do it. And so in this campaign, we're out to rectify that wrong. We're on Happy Force One doing exactly that. It's a good Friday morning, the 13th of 2020, and this is the show. Welcome to it.
Welcome back to the Democratic presidential debate from the Arts Center in Miami.
A feeling not of fear, but of safety. I'm determined to bring that day about.
Thank you.
No, excuse me. Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm not like that. Mayor, this is a time for leadership. You failed to take leadership in your own city. Sir, you've done it in your city. I don't think the American people should. Sir, you have done it in your own city. I don't think you should allow him to take care of our policing, nor is he capable of taking care of our people. Quite frankly, you want to know what he's good at? He is great at showing the American people that no matter how privileged you are, it doesn't make you a better candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. No, sir. What works is having the preparation, having the leadership skills, knowing that leadership skills and preparation and love, coupled with humanity and the necessity to get things right in our time, demands of us to be honest and to say the truth. And the day you will catch us. Further, I'm not finished. Further, and moderator, just a moment. I'm not finished. Just a moment. Further. Folks, the moral of this story here is elect people who care about you.
He's only running on the gay card. I think that's a Western afterthought.
Okay, so 1.40 kilowatt hours is what you're putting in. And it varies depending on it's swapped up. And so that's pretty cool stuff. Your Happy Healer loves it. And I think we're making energy.
It's been a privilege to see firsthand why the people you lead love you the way they do.
Your Happy Healer loves you too.
But sadly, our time together has come to an end.
On this case, you don't mean...
I do. We've done some good work, but with
HappyHealer
gone, there's nothing more for me to contribute. Please, take care of yourself and the others.
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Hey, I'm still here. Okay, God, it's great. So I was investigating that noise sound.
For God's sake. It's like a kid with his first direction on the school bus.
Oh my goodness, it was awful. But I believe we fixed it. So that's great
Raymond.
news for the cast.
Thank you.
You know what? They're
upset
and downright beside themselves for a solution, folks. Any notion is one that we all have in with nature itself, just as nature itself is so out of bounds with humanity. Then so of course is humanity so out of bounds with nature. Think about that. I've talked many times about the great needs to get to whatever exponentially technological future we need to solve these problems. That's what nature wants too. And instead of bucking nature's energies at play, perhaps these energies are somewhat needed. We're very lacking the change we need, just like the change we needed in the 1800s that before that led to the Industrial Revolution. Imagine should they have failed to change that barbarian practices persisted, like the collapse of the Roman Empire, we would have never had the Industrial Revolution. I want you to think about the truth that is the fundamental existence of mankind over time, and how we failed to grow and progress in these times and persist. And then think of the dark ages that followed in the collapse of the Roman Empire, a time in history when Western civilization was in collapse and people suffered greatly. So true. I mean, think of the dark ages. Here are 10 dangers of the dark ages medieval period. And it was one of the most exciting, turbulent, transformative eras in history. But the ages were also fraught with danger. Here is part of the medieval times in this story. It's the biggest risk that people face, and they face it in these times too. Think about that. One. This was the plague. The plague was one of the biggest killers of the Middle Ages. It had a devastating effect on the population of Europe in the 14th and 15th centuries. The plague was one of the biggest killers of the Middle Ages. And it had an effect on the population in ways that people didn't expect. It was also known as the Black Death. It caused the bacterium that was carried by fleas that was mostly found on rats. It had arrived in Europe in 1348, and thousands died in places ranged from Italy and France and Germany to Scandinavia and Wales and Spain and Russia. The deadly bubonic plague was all over the body and swells. It was a septicemia. This plague. Think about it. The victims suffered from skin that was darkly discolored, turning black. As a result of toxins in the bloodstream, one reason why the plague was so easily called the Black Death. The extremely contagious bubonic plague could be contracted by merely sneezing or spitting and cause the victim's lungs to fill up. The Black Death killed between a third and half of the population of Europe. Think about that. Contemporaries did not know, of course, what caused the plague or how to stop it. They sought explanations from Christ and God's anger and human sin and outsiders, and especially Jews. It's true, actually. If you were accepted or infected with the bubonic plague, you had a chance of dying, a 50% chance. In England, out of every 100 people, perhaps 35 to 40 could expect to die from the plague. Think about that. As a result of the plague, in the late 14th century, Florence was just under 20 years. Half of what it had been in 1300s. From the mid-1400s to the 18th century and onward, thousands of people from all across Europe died. A large number of those were children for the most vulnerable to the disease. That's how that was. 2. Travel. Well, isn't this feeling familiar in recent times? People in the medieval, they faced a host of dangers from travel. The safe, clean place to sleep on demand was difficult to find. Travelers often had to sleep out in the open. During the winter, they were freezing to death. And while traveling in groups, you weren't safe. One could be robbed or killed by strangers, or even robbed by their fellow travelers. Food and drink was nowhere to be found. They found a monastery. Maybe there was somewhere to stay. Food was a risk. You had to steal or go hungry. So it was a hard time. And people were caught up in local and regional disputes. And if you disagreed, you were thrown into prison. And imagine you could even be thrown into prison over the silliest things, misinterpretation. If one became, there's no guarantee that medical treatment could be received for these folks, is what they were realizing back then. Travelers might also fall victim to accident. For example, there was a drowning when crossing the river. There's a real risk. And in the 1190, there was many deaths, and during the Crusade, they had accidents that were surrounding them just from the chaos of the situation. And you know that's how it works whenever greed is in charge. It's always chaotic. You can tell from the signs. So while it was faster to actually travel by land, with all the problems in the rivers, so many things spelled disaster. And the medieval wooden ships used were not always equal to the challenges of the sea either. Talk about when these things start to add up. Sea travel was becoming a bit faster than ever before with the advent of times, modern technology. But people could expect to cover 15 to 20 miles down a foot or 30 miles down a horse, or they can get 75 miles to 125 miles a day on a ship at more modern times. So famine was a very real danger during the plague. Dwindling food supplies, and not just the plague, but also of dark ages. And that corn and just you couldn't get food. Those suffered malnutrition, and they're vulnerable to disease. If they didn't starve to death, often they died as a result of those epidemics that followed famine. Tuberculosis, however you say that. Influenza, gastrointestinal infections, so many things. The Great Famine of the early 13th century was particularly bad. Climate change led to much colder than average temperatures in Europe. And there was the Ice Age. In the 7 years between this time, Western Europe witnessed incredibly heavy rainfall, up to 150 days at a time. Farmers struggled to harvest and grow crops. What meager crops that did grow were terribly expensive. The main food staple bread was apparel as well. This also came at the same time as a brutally cold winter set on. At least 10%, perhaps 15% of the people in England died during this period. And we have England history because in the Dark Ages, they're the ones who are mostly keeping history. So I've been preaching so long about our inability to live up to our demands and how it's so against the future, not here yet. And that we're selling our soul when we do that. It takes the very legs out of a future for all of us. Think about that. We must advance. We must be a 21st century citizenry. We must learn to care about each other. And this is the challenge that we have in becoming a type 1 civilization. We have to matter enough to care enough to meet the tough demands that we're not meeting now. We have to show and improve by virtue of care and responsibility to one another. Our greatest value is our lives, our own lives. The existence of our species and the advancement of the human soul, body, and life. And above all else, human happiness and peace and to be pursued, and for technology to be pursued to serve to that cause in our time. And we have to care for every single person and every person in between. We have to make that true in the 21st century, folks, or fail to meet the demands of our time. That comes with a heavy burden. It's time, folks. Aboard Happy Force 1. You need to become smarter in the wake of this condition and must not repeat the same mistakes of the past, because even though nature takes suddenly and it takes fast, it reacts even more sudden, and it does it on the way down. We're already on the downside. Being the powerful force that nature is and how strong it can overcome, and that love is as an energy it can overcome. That's why we have to dial into a fast and furious energy like love. This lazy, greedy bastard is never going to do it for us. Speaking of bastards, there's System Motherless Child. Here and there, and everywhere. And because of the bastards defined by their not having care by a mother. The love and support of normal society, that's typically the role of the mother to fulfill that solemn duty, and it is a solemn duty. Women get it, and they understand. Both to solve and fix, but also to improve. Love does it all. Add to that truth. And thereby you have the framework for the life of living. And that is the way to go. We have to get to it before we lose our focus altogether, and that's a world where humanity actually matters. So, speaking of mothers, children, and bastards, we have children! Today, with the benefits of ultrasound scans, the risk for mother and baby pregnancy and childbirth is at an all-time low. However, in the medieval period, such a pleasant time, there was complications were even fatal for the mother and child. We can go on for several days about the women that died of exhaustion alone. The mother of the baby was not always successful in having that child. And the doctors that attended to these women, they helped the mother during labor and were able to perform emergency procedures on women that were dying. Most had received no formal training. But from practical experience from years of delivering babies, because it was a need, and the wonderful time it was. And they had a lot of complications. It was chaotic. Equipment was basic. And status was no barrier to these problems. Even Jane Seymour, the third wife, died soon after giving birth to a child. And I think it was 1637. Infancy and childhood. Infancy was particularly dangerous in the Middle Ages. Mortality was terribly high. Based on surviving records, scholars have estimated that 20 to 30% of children under 7 died, but the actual figure is almost certainly higher. Infants and children were particularly vulnerable to the effects of malnutrition and diseases. They might die due to smallpox, measles, influenza, stomach infections, and much more. Sad stuff. And this is the chaos that comes in dark ages. chronic malnutrition. And medieval mothers didn't have good breast milk either. Those foolish people who think that they're allowed to live in the present and say that they're saving for the good life for the future and stealing from the present for a future that is not guaranteed, by the way. And by that very nature, they're taking away from the present, thrust the present into a deficit of resources. And that is why we see people, folks, dying on the streets. That is how, basically, when you say the rich rob, take from the poor. It's a better life for them personally, but not guaranteed the present needs. And that's a deal they're willing to make. And that's not okay. If we're to say humanity has value, and that humanity has purpose. Being born into a family of wealthy status does not guarantee a long life either. In ducal families in England, in the 1479, for example, 1/3 of children died before the age of 40. It's a true statistic. We can all do better. And so then they have bad weather. The vast majority of the medieval population was of the utmost importance because they depended on the land. But as well as jeopardizing livelihoods, and weather could kill consistently. Poor weather can lead to problems in selling crops and ultimately the failure of the harvest. If summers were wet and cold, the crops could be destroyed. And this was a major problem. And that was the main food source for most of the population. With less ability of farmers on hand, they had great shortages, and they had no grain, and it led to inflation, hunger, and starvation, disease, and higher death rates. This was especially the case from the 14th to the 16th century. By 1550, there had been an expansion of devastation. And that weather was changing. And medieval men and women were in such harsh conditions that in Europe, plowing and sowing seeds and harvesting crops as well as special services and processions were done just to ensure good weather. Certain saints were thought to protect against the fraught weather. And that the rain and droughts were brought on by the power of the saints and the Virgin Mary. And that's what was brought on by storms and lightning. The weather was not merely a natural occurrence to these folks. That weather and bad weather could be caused by bad behavior of people like murder and incest. What we have learned is that people go backwards and they regress rather than progress in the progression of freedom and knowledge. Such is the wisdom gained. These mere events in nature could also be linked to witches and sorcerers. It's not enough. They could, according to witches, published in there was I'm trying to think of a book, but these basically they had these winds and they caused lightning for folks, and there would be people that would do seances around these things. I mean, people really got chaotic back then. So this is the result of humanity's lack of progression when I think of life, and their lack of being in tune with the nature around them. It's a very dangerous misalignment if you think about it, and brings on sudden death. like nothing else. So then we have violence. And you have witnesses, victims, perpetrators from the highest ranks of society to the lowest. And it was an omnipresent danger in daily life. And violence took many forms. And street violence. And taverns were not uncommon. And people revolting against their lords. And it led to uprisings and the lengthy rebellion of peasants, fighters, in 1328 or 1381 in England, for example. Medieval records demonstrate the presence of other types of violence, also rape, assault, murder were not uncommon, or accidental homicide sometimes. For example, was the case of Frost, who was killed by a large stone and accidentally dropped on her head in 1948 in Rock Castle. So families for generations were very much going through hard times, and it's the same as what we see today. And it's local and regional disputes between peoples, and that elections were taken. Innocence or guilt in times were decided by mob justice or duels, for example. Political or dynastic rivals, and were killed by noblemen. And that killing and other acts of violence and warfare were present in regional wars and all throughout the 11th century. And so death has been consistent throughout this time. The War of the Roses, the Battle of 1908 took 30,000 to 60,000 lives, and it was in 1361. So one area people don't consider about history is that it's often very risky to disagree. Have you ever noticed that? Indeed, it was dangerous. And that gets to the very core of why we fight for our freedoms. Not so later that we can become fools and lose, but so rather we can get man to a state of happiness. Government for, of, and by the people is supposed to do just that. It's so important that we get to that. Heresy. It could also be dangerous to disagree in that time. People have theological or religious opinions that goes against the teaching of the Christian church, where it's seen as crimes in some cases. And they included Jews, Muslims, medieval Christians whose views were considered to be unorthodox, like missionaries, crusaders, and others, especially from the late 11th century and throughout the Mediterranean world. The First Crusade, 1096 to 1099, aimed to capture Jerusalem and finally did so in 1099. Yet the city was soon lost, and further crusades had to be launched to regain it. So much war. Jews also suffered persecution and expulsion and death. In England, anti-Semitism resulted in massive massacres for Jews in the late 12th century, and Edward I banished all Jews from England in 1290. They're only permitted to return in the mid-1600s. Didn't start with Hitler. Efforts were also made to retake Liberia from Muslim Rome, and it wasn't until 1492 that the entire peninsula was recaptured. This was part of the tactic Spain used to unite a single faith in the heresy, and setting up in 1478. And Jews were expelled from Spain in 1492, and Muslims were only allowed to stay if they were to convert to Christianity. Holy wars were also reached with Christians were considered to be heretics. It was directed at the Cathars, and it was from 1209 that massacres and executions followed during this time in the later 13th and 14th centuries. And so the death was rampant, and we're getting to the end here, so I just want to talk about their pastimes, hunting. It was an important pastime, and it was a skill that was greatly admired during that time. The Emperor Charlemagne is recorded as greatly enjoying hunting throughout the 19th century, and that William the Conqueror would indulge in his love of hunting. But hunting was not without risks. Hunters could easily be injured or killed by accidents. They might fall from their horse, or get pierced by an arrow, or tusked, or attacked by bears. So status did not guarantee safety. And many examples exist of kings and nobles who met tragic endings as a result of hunting. The Byzantine Emperor in 1886 died apparently after having his belt impaled on the horns of a stake and being dragged, and then being freed. In 1100, King William II Rufus was killed by an arrow in a supposed hunting accident in the forest. Likewise, in 1143, then there's another death by the King of Jerusalem when he was crushed by his own saddle of the horse. And this was all hunting. Now think in terms of our times for a moment. Can you imagine Donald Trump riding on a horse, getting shot by a bow and arrow while hunting? I personally don't even think that he can get up on the horse. That is so funny. Earlier, sudden death. Sudden and premature death was common in medieval period. Most people died young. The death rates could vary on factors like status, wealth, location. Higher death rates are seen in urban settlements. You could take lessons from this. Various causes. Malnutrition, famine, warfare, sweating, sickness, and infections, actually. So status did not guarantee a long life. And nobody in the king's status didn't live necessarily as long as peasants. Died before they reached the age of 50. They could only hope to live 40 years if you were to give a realistic time frame. And in certain circumstances, a mere 30 years. By the second half of the 14th century, peasants that were living 5 to 7 years longer than the previous 50 years. However, the average life expectancy for these families were between 1330 and was only 24 years for men and 33 for women. So people in the late 1420s could live about 29 years, 30 years is what the average was. Dying a good death was very important to these folks. That was so important. And people often worried about sudden death from unnatural causes like execution or getting death and not being able to receive last rites. So there were certain things like poisoning, lightning, fever, or other things that could take your life suddenly. And so people were scared, just like they are now. Just think of the past and how it collides with our future in one snapshot of reality. Think about it as one point in time. Just as this period. We have all of history, all the way up to now, and all the way around us. So that we can do what is most important of our times. Or should we fail, we'll fail for all time. And that is what you see when you see time in a snapshot and humanity in it. If you watch all throughout history, one thing is noted over and over again. We have to meet our time's needs, where we fail to grow in ways that are threatening to life, and in our time, the very continuity of life. Greed was a greedy helper. And perhaps got us in time to where we are now, in history, capable of taking care of people. Think about it. And at no other time in history could we do it like now. that should we get to where we're supposed to go, that we'll be transformational in our lives. And this will reverberate all throughout humanity. When possible. And that's what the snapshot of humanity looks like throughout history. You have to realize that. And so I say, this is not a time to be pessimistic. That there's no hope in trying, and no way forward. And the people that say that, and that say forget about being heard, forget about loving. He who stands in the way of human progression in the year 2020 is no less responsible for human extinction. That is real truth. And this is life. And I am your happy healer for President of the United States of America. As I travel aboard Happy Force One across America, God needs you, and God loves you, and God bless you. And good day. A start to a new beginning. Let's be the change we so desperately seek. And let's be sure to desperately seek loving change. Be sure to go to www.happyhealerforpresident.com and donate to this cause. Please, because we need your help now, more now than ever before. We are all in, and this work doesn't get done without it. Help makes a difference. And to know that it was possible, and you never even tried, and that trying at the very nature of it is what this campaign is about. So, I'm going to leave you with this impression, and I'm going to just give you an excerpt of one of the many people I speak to about change. Planting seeds of progress. And sometimes I'm direct with people when it's called for. But at all times I'm loving. And all who I engage with know that I love them. And if I have an ideology and a belief system that gives me faith and courage, then it's that love that gives me faith. Treat people with compassion. And that's a power beyond measure. And don't negate the power of love. Here's that excerpt now. In response to every single post, coming that it's always about Trump or anti-Trump or what we need. What we need is a life healthcare, income for all, to bring about a new age of technology and robotics that works through industries and provides for us. Look how little we are provided for now. In China, they're turning off the medications. And how could they do that if we produced our own? We need to be makers and doers. And it's our courage, unity, and embracing ways that bring about a safe and secure future. A prosperous future. One where we put humanity first. And that is where my actions are rooted. So I responded just as I would to anyone, including Trump supporters, about how they're being too political. And this is what I said. And then responses will be called out by name. Keith Landi. Wow. Sure. But sorry. Not everything is about Trump in my world. That is a world you are all in by yourself. You must call it what it is. Let me think. Trump world? Let me guess. You think we live in the United States of Trump? And I said, this is sick behavior. Please, let's just let love do the work. It's so simple. Let love do the work. It's so simple and complex. And I say, do you think before you write? So I didn't actually say what he said. But I responded with this. That's saying things in a political nature. That even being remotely political at all, but not jumping up and down about love, and that is the true remedy to this problem. And that's where my thought process is. How far did you think out what you were saying? Did you think it out till tomorrow? Because I'm looking at the next 5 to 10 years in the continuity of mankind, starting with America. That is my motivation. What's yours? And it's real. And you know it. And so, why would you add to the that takes away from us? And you have a problem with he that sounds the alarm. And now you see why my leadership